Hi guys, it's Andy from Man City Fan TV. I'm here with Jan again from Yannick On Chelsea Podcast, and it's great to be chatting and catching up again about the game at the weekend, which is the fixture, Man City versus Chelsea, 1600 kickoff, 4 o'clock kickoff at the Etihad Stadium. So, Jan, how are you, mate?
I'm all right, Andy. Thanks for having me on again, mate. Yeah, it's a big game. Dreading it / looking forward to it. A lot of talking points for us to get through, mate. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Okay, so first question then. Let's get right at it and let's get into the game. And I'm sure you're going to ask me questions, and I've got plenty of questions to ask you. Your season so far, heading into this game, I've been following you on Twitter, and I've been listening to your podcasts, which are for everybody out there. Even if you're a football fan, go over, and even if you're not a Chelsea fan, you're a football fan, go over and listen to them because they're really interesting. But the Bournemouth game, and then suddenly you bounce back and Higuain's in the team, and wow, it's like you're a different team again. So what's happened?
Okay, well, it all needs a bit of context, I think. The Bournemouth game was a second half collapse, and it was dreadful. It was I hate to echo the sentiments of Sarri, but there's got to be some sort of like mental fragility there for like they scored a goal and these players. There's something not very strong about this current sort of crop of players. We've got loads of talent, but in terms of team spirit and stuff, or maybe just a bit of uncertainty, and it was a second half collapse. And yeah, but let's be honest, if you've just been coming off a really poor defeat, Huddersfield at home is just the tonic, isn't it? So, like at the moment, I mean, I really do rate the new coach. Actually, I was reading up about him. He does seem like he's a smart dude. The guy did the Dortmund reserves or second team, but yeah, context needed because he's working out, and it was a little bit of a training game. But again, to highlight situation, I mean, they didn't offer much, but Aaron Moy put a header just over the bar. If he scores that, because of the pressures of the previous game, that defeat at Bournemouth, the worst defeat of Chelsea in 26 years, what do those players do? Do you know what I mean? How do they react? Oddly, that element of the game, I feel more confident in, say, a blockbuster fixture like Man City. I feel like you're a much better team than us and you're much better settled. But in terms of player mentality in that fixture, I'd back more than them getting all self-conscious in these lower tier ties or fixtures. Yeah. So in the season as a whole, mate, it's very difficult because we're in a final with you guys, which I'm sure we can talk about another time, or we can do another special on it, whatever. Which is great for us to be sorry to be in a final. Remember, he hasn't won a trophy. We're in all 4 competitions, and we're in top 4 as it stands. So, if you said that come mid-February, that would be the case for Sarri. You'd rip that person's hand off. You'd be like, oh my god, that's excellent. It's because we started so well, and we were right up there with Liverpool and you guys. And I think we were top of the league in a few weeks in, and we're like, wow, Sarri's really, looking like the business. But then a few issues came in, and just to sort of finish off my little introductory piece here, there was a sort of like wobbly stage period where people thought, well, sitting on Jorginho nullifies the Chelsea game, and I feel like he did dip in form, like regardless to what anyone says. But at the same time, if you watch Jorginho, he knows the system backwards, as you'd expect. He's Sarri's man. He's the general. Even at Napoli, he tells everyone where to go. And if people don't occupy the right space to receive the ball, he's sort of left on a bit of an island. So it was like a perfect storm for Sarri's football to sort of crash a little bit. And he's sort of since picked up a little bit and it's been a bit better. But it's been a weird one, mate, because it started so well. There was a poor period. But if you looked at it, the tangibles elements of it, it's a good first season so far. But
I mean, the last time we spoke, we did this vlog was prior to the Community Shield. And we spoke in depth about Sarri ball and Jorginho and the fact that he went to you and he didn't come to City and all of those things. But reading, certainly looking at social media, and you're probably more into it than I am from a Chelsea perspective, and certainly in the media as well. Jorginho's and Sarri in particular have been coming in for an awful lot of criticism. I mean, whether it's fair or unfair, whether you're in a realistic position, because you're what, fourth with 50 points. So I think, all right, you're 7 points behind Spurs in third, but you know, you're in fourth, you're in a final, and it seems like the media have jumped all over this. What is this Sarri ball? It's nonsense, and Jorginho's taking Kante's position and blah, blah, blah. And I just think, well, you know, let's be realistic about it. You know, Chelsea, for me, are where they should be, maybe bar one position, maybe third.
Yeah, maybe out of another competition, you know, rather than so. It's just to pick up on that, what you said. Like, if it's funny because if you talk to Sarri, James Richardson, you know the really great broadcaster and host and stuff. He did an interview with Sarri, and he because Sarismo has been put in, which is Sarri, but has been put in the dictionary in Italy and all this. So he's like, right, I'm gonna grill him on this, and Sarri just sort of laughed and was like, it's. I know it sounds like nonsense. So it's not something that's come from his camp. It's it's like a sort of football nerd thing that we watched at Napoli last year, the hipsters. But it is essentially the truth lies in between, because it's proper football men like your pundits, your Rio Ferdinands, like, oh, why don't we play Kante there? And I've done like videos, if anyone's interested. I've got a video pinned on my Twitter about Jorginho versus Kante, and systematically into footballing philosophies, while they're very different. Yeah. So he's going to play Jorginho there. So it is a proper football men versus football hipster thing. But the truth is, it lies somewhere in the middle. It is a bit vertical tiki-taka. It's possession attacking football, but it's slightly... So it's highly respected by his peers, like Arrigo Sacchi and Pep Guardiola. Like, Sarri went for dinner with them, and they both look up to, not look up to him, he looks up to them, but they will have this mutual sort of respect of what he's trying to deliver, and how he hasn't come from a footballing background. He's just literally slam dunked into top tier football, and he achieved something great, or he's trying to achieve something great. So, you know, with that, it's just a talking point, really. It's not something that he's branded himself. It's something that the hipsters have given him, and he's just trying to assert his philosophy. It's very much like Guardiola. Like, people said to Guardiola his first season, or he was saying, I remember Guardiola saying, people say my football can't work in England. People will say my football can't work in England, but it can, and I'm going to show you. What did he do? He bloody broke every record the next season. I mean, granted, he got the players that he needed, but it's the same thing what's happening with Sarri. And you know, Pep had City conditioned. They were settling the club ready for his arrival and knew about it for a while. Chelsea said, right, we need to get rid of Conte, because it's becoming a sort of Jose Mark II in terms of toxic atmosphere. And last minute they get Sarri in, who Napoli didn't want to release him. Jorginho, you say he came to us, but really that was something to do with the Sarri deal. I mean, he was happy to come to Chelsea ultimately because he's made friends there and he loves Sarri. Yeah. So, I mean, it's nothing to say he didn't want to go to City and play for Pep Guardiola. You know, that was part of the transition. So it's just, so he didn't even get pre-season, Sarri. Conte took the first, few days of pre-season, and then he had to go straight to Australia, and then we had the Community Shield review where we were playing, different players, and he didn't know who to play. So if people had a look at it contextually, he's doing a pretty good job, and he just needs a bit of time. And he's got, Eden Hazard looks like he's finally going to be out the door. So we can talk about that if you'd like in a bit. I'll sort of ask you a couple of questions. So there's all this stuff with Chelsea. He hasn't had it easy in certain big things in the media as well. So I feel people just need to give him a break, and not least a lot of Chelsea fans. But I mean, we can come back to our players and stuff. But if you don't mind, should we talk about City for a little bit and me pose a few questions to you?
Go ahead.
All right, mate, let's talk about City. So before we discussed the season and stuff. I read somewhere, you can confirm this is true for me, that maybe Benjamin Mendy might be making an incredibly unwelcome return for Chelsea fans on the weekend. True?
Well, it's like anything. When you see Pep's press conferences, when it comes to who is fit and who isn't, he's very much a 2-3 word answer type of manager. Doesn't give a great deal away. He was asked about Vincent Kompany in the previous 2 games prior to Arsenal, And prior to the Arsenal game, he just turned around and went, I don't know. And he was pushed again and he went, I don't know. So he obviously knows, because obviously Vincent's had his charity event the other night in Manchester, where all the players from United and City and ex-players turned out for his homeless charity event. So, of course, Pep Guardiola knows where he is. As far as Benjamin Mendy, he's pretty much done the same thing, and he's just said prior to the Arsenal game, he's been training for 2 days. Is he available? And he just said he's been training for 2 days. So he's not giving anything away. So even as City fans, we don't really know. And all you get is, if you want to watch the sort of Man City TV official sort of what they release, it's just little screen grabs of, players walking around the training pitch at the Etihad campus. And so we don't know. He could be back. If you take what Guardiola said last Friday about the Arsenal game, then Benjamin Mendy should be sort of 9-10 days into his training regime. So could potentially, we'll find out tomorrow at the press conference. Yeah. Well, we won't find out.
You won't find out.
We'll know whether he's in the squad, because that's all Pep ever says. He says, yes, he's available for selection, or yes, he's in the squad, and Yeah,
because that almost can equally throw off your opponent. Obviously, you don't want them to know you're fit, but if you say, yeah, he is fit, but I'm not intending to play him, then that might get into like the opposition manager head, like, oh, he's going to play him. Let's prepare for that, and then they're not there, and then So.
Yeah, so he doesn't give very much away. So it's very difficult. And I always say in any of these sort of videos we do with opposition channels, when they say, well, who's going to give us your team, I always say it's so difficult to name a Pep Guardiola team, because you could name one thinking, well, so and so was dropped on Sunday, so he's definitely going to play on. Like last night, I was at Goodison Park for the Everton game, and trying to guess the team.
I couldn't watch the game, but I saw the score. Did Jesus start? Did he come on?
No, he came on first. Okay. He came on late on.
Late. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was late on 80th minute. I think he came.
I think if City were probably in a more settled position at the top, he might have started Jesus in that game and saved Aguero. Chelsea.
Well, this is the thing: is you've got Aguero, who scored a hat trick. And then, but prior to that, you've got Gabby Jesus, who scored 10 in 6 prior to last night. He's now got 11 in 7. And so, none of them deserve. Aguero needs minutes because he's on his comeback from injury. And yet you're dropping somebody who scored 11 in 7.
Well, I think at the
time 10 in 6.
Yeah, I think with this game, it's going to be less about honouring player form and more about how he wants to set up against Chelsea.
It'll be system-based.
It'll be systematic, yeah, because, I don't know if it was a joke or not, but I think it was Pep. He spoke to Sarri the night before the last game, and they both said they're going to play false nines or something. They're not going to play strikers. So, I don't know if that was true, if it was them having a laugh or whatever. But whether that's going to happen again, I don't know.
It certainly won't be a false 9.
No. Sorry, I don't mean the false.
No. For this game.
Yeah. Well, no, for Chelsea as well. Trust me, that is, onwards. That doesn't look like it's a solution for either teams, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I very much assume it will be Aguero and Higuain. Before we maybe talk about other players and stuff, just so you talk about Kompany, but centre back pairing preferred to, surely is it Stones and Laporte, or do you want Kompany back in there?
It's one of those, because if you look at who has been our best partnership this season, no doubt Stones and Laporte. From a playing perspective and playing out from the back, they've been working really well as a pair. They both seem to complement each other. But then you look at the games, the big games that we've played this season, when Vinny's come back, when we've needed a proper leader on the pitch. And I'm not saying Fernandinho and David Silva, who've taken the armbands, are not leaders, but they're not a Vincent Kompany. And you only have to look at the Liverpool game. He comes back, a commanding performance, and just sadly, it's just his injuries, and again, it's another niggle, and
yeah, it's very sad. It's,
it's
heartbreaking. Like even obviously as an opposition fan, when you see him go down, because he obviously is a nice dude and stuff, and so it's very sad to see. Okay, so I think I agree with you in terms of Laporte and Stones being the future, being very technical and being good centre backs. But I think in this game, like you say, not just for the leadership, but stylistically, we played without the ball at Stamford Bridge. I mean, it wasn't. We didn't concede loads of possession, but it was with the lesser possession. We're certainly, I reckon, unless Sarri tries to do something different to be different and jump on City, I think it's going to be the same. Now, playing out from the back is great when your players are coming out at you, but I think you need a bit more of like an old school centre back defender to have this when people are breaking on you and counter-attacking. That's when you need a company, maybe rather than John Stones. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, you only have to look at what happened last night and what we did against Emery's Arsenal. We've got the options now. We're missing Benjamin Mendy, left back, and I think that's a massive miss because I think it allows Pep a little bit more flexibility in his formations and his tactics in who can press where and when, and without Mendy's pace and his dynamism, he's sort of restricted a little bit when he's got the likes of Zinchenko and Delph, who are not those type of players, and both of them are not left backs. So at that point, and Laporte played at left back against Arsenal and was absolutely brilliant, superb. And last night played left back again, and Otamendi came back. And Otamendi, I did a bit of a chat with Ray before about sort of post-match sort of last night's game. And I really like Otamendi. I thought he was a nightmare the first few years, and I think most City fans did. But he's become the general. He's the player that we've not got when Vinny's not there.
He's made him excellent.
He's aggressive, and he's great in the air. He's always, and he makes mistakes, of course he does. But Stones and Laporte are not aggressive. Oh, well, okay, Laporte can be. He did last night, a few crunching tackles. But as a centre-back, he's not that physical, getting in front of the centre-back, pushing him, elbowing him in the back of the neck and all that type. Otamendi does that. And
gets the goal as well.
Gets away with a lot of fouls, I'll be honest with you. But he's aggressive. And we haven't got that when we've got Stones and Laporte. And I think sometimes you're going to be playing against a striker like Higuain or a Lacazette or a Aubameyang, like on Sunday. Sometimes we need that little bit of bite. Well, puts them off a little bit. Give them an early one and make them sort of think twice. Ball up, but Vinny can do both of those things. He can play out from the back, and he's also aggressive and is a leader. So, they're two cultured players, but I think when we've not got Ben Mendy, I think it's looking more likely that we're going to push Laporte to the left, and Otamendi's going to fill that gap. And if Vinny comes back, there might be the option of putting Vinny in there. But when Ben Mendy comes back, and if he's fit for the weekend, I don't doubt for a minute he'll come in if he is properly fit. I don't know whether they'll risk him straight away into a game against Chelsea, but. Then there is the option of playing Stones and Laporte, but they're going to be the future, I think. We just need to keep our fullbacks fit.
I tell you what, you're talking about centre backs there. It makes me, because I'm actually a big fan of Christensen, but we've got Rudiger and Luiz now. Luiz is a very talented footballer, and he can be 1 out of 5 games look like a world-class defender, but then a lot of the time he can look like an idiot sometimes, But
tell me about it. Put him in my fantasy team, and he's a pain.
You cursed him, mate. Cheers for that. But I was going to say, but in Rudiger, he's got a lot of passion, so they're both quite fiery characters, right? But what you were just describing in a centre-back quality, what you can have with Kompany and stuff, it just makes we haven't had since JT that talented footballer, but the way Hazard's the most foul player in the Premier League, right? Yeah. And he knows how to buy a foul, which is a part of a skill. He doesn't dive, but he puts his body in the position where they have to hit him down.
Yeah.
But he does take a lot of digs as well because people get frustrated with him. If we still had a player like JT playing, he'd put, like you say, put one on the other player and be like, right, you touch my player again, you're not coming anywhere near our half, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it gets inside their head. If you have too many, if you get too many, and it's not necessarily playing dirty, it's just passion and protective. And these aren't, these can be players that are cultured, technical, and.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so it is something to be said about that, and that's I think one of Chelsea's biggest issues. We had two issues before a few weeks ago. One remains in what we're discussing now about these characters and mentality. I could go on for ages about that, but also we just really needed a proper number 9. And if you don't mind talking about Higuain for a little bit, because I think I've always been jealous of other teams of strikers. Arsenal have got 2 very good strikers in my opinion. Obviously, I think Sergio Aguero is the best striker in the Premier League and has been for a long while. I actually think he doesn't get enough credit for how good he's been.
Yeah, neither do I.
Yeah, I think any football fan or brain worth their salt he's now a sort of striker great in the league. He could stop now and he'd be up there with. In my view, it'd be up there with like Thierry Henry's and stuff. Do you know what I mean? All the like.
Well, if we just before you talk about Higuain, if you talk about Sergio Aguero and talk about strikers, just in case I don't get this in and you don't ask me the question about Aguero, he's what 20 odd goals away from Thierry Henry. So
there you go. Yeah.
And that would make him the highest overseas goal scorer ever and. All right, he might not reach Rooney, he might not reach Shearer unless he stays another 3-4 years and it's 25 goals a season. But his record is absolutely incredible. Forget his 24 goals, I think, behind Henry, but his goal to game ratio, considering he misses 2-3 months every season, pretty much.
Yeah. Just to jump in really quickly on Aguero. My thing with him as well is Pep Guardiola came in, great footballing mind, bought Gabriel Jesus, looks like a brilliant player, and it looks like he could be perfect mould. And he looks at sort of Aguero and he thinks, I don't really fancy you, mate. Like, you're not necessarily going to work, and there was a bit of animosity or whatever. Aguero still just bangs, shed load of goals, not bothered, and then he has to look at him like, you know what, yeah, you're coming back in.
Well, I think it was more with the Gabby Jesus thing. I think it was more along the lines of work rate. I think Pep came in and sort of thought, you are. And it's not often and I hate this whole, he's world-class player, I hate people who use this world-class about average players or decent players rather than who is truly, truly world-class and who isn't. And for me, that's anybody who could walk into any other team in the world. I would say, yeah, you're up there as world-class. And we've all got our own opinions on what's the definition of world-class. But I think he came in and he basically looked at him and said, you could do 25% more than you're doing for the team. And you'll need to do that in my system. Fine under Pellegrini's system and et cetera, et cetera. And Gabby came in and then suddenly we saw Gabby Jesus flying everywhere, chasing every ball, regardless of whether it was a lost cause or not. And suddenly I think Aguero thought, I like it here. I want to stay here. I'm going to have to do this to get back in the team. Yeah. So I think it was a masterstroke from Pep, sort of shoving Gabby in at the beginning and going, nobody is undroppable in this team. And unless you do what I say, you're not getting in it. And we've seen that 25% from Aguero now. He runs his socks off absolutely non-stop. So over to your...
Can we just finish? Yeah, I'm happy to, but just to finish on Aguero as well. Like I feel like they're putting a shift in work rate and stuff. So a lot of strikers don't run because they know they're going to put such a great... They want to, I'd put it down to, play style.
There's no press as well from behind. Yeah. So you don't have your Sterling pressing. Silva pressing all at the same time. Kevin De Bruyne pressing. If a striker goes to press a ball between two centre-backs 40 yards apart and nobody else is doing it, well, you're wasting your legs.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a really silly comparison, but Ibrahimovic, because he got old, or like, you know, he'd like be very smart. And Ronaldo does it as well.
Yeah.
Obviously Aguero's younger and he's got more energy, but it's just a different approach. I don't think, you know, if you're sharp in the mind and stuff, but like, anyway, yeah. So I regard him as the best. I think he's better than Harry Kane. I think Harry Kane's developed in terms of how he can play more as a 10 now. He comes back and he starts doing these long balls. But in terms of a number 9 assassin, you can't beat Aguero. Anyway, so Higuain, from one Argentinian striker to another.
Yeah, impressive. I mean, I must admit, it was a few months ago, there was this little rumour and things around, and I'm thinking, Napoli, Sarri, Chelsea, Higuain. It seems like the perfect fit, because Higuain knows him. Yeah.
Well, shall I run down like the sort of elements of the transfer? So Higuain broke the record in Italy. He scored 36 goals in 35 games in a league that not necessarily players don't score a lot of goals in a lot of the time, or certainly potentially. You know, in the last day when he broke the record, it was a hat trick with an overhead kick, and he scored. It's not just tap-ins and he scores like some great goals. His goal record throughout his career is just insane. He went to Milan and had a really poor 6 months there, and there's quite a few reasons for that. I think there was issues with Juve. He got a bit annoyed about the Ronaldo thing, and he used to play with Ronaldo as well, remember? But they couldn't afford his wages. He's on a lot of wages, and the Ronaldo purchase was so astronomical financially that they had to get his wages off the book. He went to Milan. They were playing without a midfield, and he was dropping deep, and he fell out with Gattuso and stuff, and it was all just a bit of I won't swear.
A shit.
There you go. So he comes back to Sarri, and they have got this paternal relationship. Like, it says he's like a second son.
Yeah.
And our problem was with a striker, focal point. You know, we're wasting Hazard on a false 9. He can be an all right striker. He played pretty decent against you guys there, and like he did well against Barcelona there. But it's still wasting him generally.
Yeah.
So it's wasting him, as in not his best attributes on the wing, and it's wasting the striker for not being as good as it can be. So it's crap essentially. And we got Higuain, and I've been a big fan of him for years. I've sort of watched big strikers around Europe like Ibrahimovic and Lewandowski, and I'm not a big fan of Suarez, but a big fan of Cavani as well. I've got a thing of like watching strikers and how they move and stuff. And Higuain, I really, really liked. He's 31. Which is like the most anti-Chelsea signing you will ever hear. Like, Chelsea have just got this weird thing about players over 30. And he's on astronomical wages. He's on like the same as N'Golo Kante, and he's just signed a new 5-year contract at 290k a week, which makes him the highest paid player, and probably will remain that, seeing as looks like Hazard will go. But Higuain, he has this amazing record. He knows where to be in Sarri's system, and importantly, he's already got an incredibly good chemistry and link up with Jorginho, obviously from Napoli. So he knows how the system's supposed to work. He's got Jorginho, knows where Jorginho wants people to receive the ball, and he's meant to be. And just seeing, I know it's Huddersfield, it was a training game, but just seeing him and Hazard break, and when Hazard breaks, and how he peels off like a proper striker. And, you know, he's getting hit down and not flopping on the floor. And when he does get hit down, he gets straight back up, and he's running and he's strong. I tell you what, that's just the tonic after having Morata in your side for a while now. Morata's a talented footballer, but he is not a Premier League player. Oh, my goodness.
And I think on that point you made there, I think that's something that clearly, you know, after last night's final whistle, I'm sure Pep went back to his hotel in Manchester, and then this morning he's been in, and that's the thing he's going to be looking at. He's going to be looking at that relationship between Jorginho, Higuain, and what are Chelsea doing different now since he's come in, and he's going to be now planning today, tomorrow, Saturday, and working on the training pitch as to who's going to nullify that, and do we just pile all over the top of Jorginho? Do we mark Jorginho and put Fernandinho on him? Or does he just say play our own game, but we're going to change the back slightly? Yeah. I don't know. I do agree. After watching the game the other day, I think that's a position that Pep's going to be a little concerned about, and he's going to be having plans and working on plans and how can he stop this.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because he's not gonna. It's gonna make him look a little bit less at the reverse fixture with the three little guys breaking now. Because I reckon Pep would probably be. Obviously, he's a meticulous coach. He'll be looking at Chelsea this season, but I think now Higuain's in. He's going to be looking at some Napoli tapes with Jorginho and Higuain.
I agree. I think a lot of work will be probably even gone in a week ago. But I think that's going to be the key, and it's not necessarily the connection between Jorginho and Higuain. It's the next move. It's from Higuain, from Jorginho to who, to then to Higuain, as to how do we stop this triangular movement between sort of three players. And when you've got the ball, how do we stop you, one, getting in that position, and two, making that next move? So I think that's why the fullbacks potentially are going to be really important for us. Well,
yeah, but okay, the way I view it is, what's different now is I don't think Pep would sit someone on Jorginho. I don't think that's his way.
I don't think he would.
But even if a player is like, look, be prepared to block the passageways of Jorginho. Now we've got Higuain. There's nothing, what David Luiz is as good as any of the best centre backs of pinging a long ball. And now we've got someone like Higuain running onto long balls. So if it's all happening around Jorginho, there's nothing to stop those happening now. And when we played Huddersfield, I want all the viewers to know that I acknowledged the opposition in that big victory. But there was a record for our season. A record-breaking combinations between striker and Hazard. They sort of played almost as like a two a lot of the time. There was 22 successful combinations between them two, and even if it wasn't a combination, it's usually you look like Higuain peeling off to finally pull some people away from Hazard, and then you can get around and score a goal and stuff. So it's really interesting. I feel like Pep is just going to play his normal game. Obviously, you guys have had to play an extra game. So we've had 7 days rest, and you'll have what's it, 3, 4?
3. Well, that's three clear days.
3, okay, yeah. So, that's, if you said, the thing is for me, not knowing the elements around this fixture, if you said, I'd be like, oh god, I don't fancy. After the Bournemouth game, I was like, oh, we're gonna get turned over, and I'm gonna stop watching football for the rest of my life. But now, I didn't even know you guys were playing midweek. So you played midweek. We have come off a sort of morale-lifting victory, and we've got obviously a striker who's off the mark now. So it's going to be an interesting game. But just something that I forgot to ask you before about Benjamin Mendy. I've never seen a fullback affect the way a team plays so much, ever. I mean, I've seen someone like Ashley Cole makes such a big difference defensively to a team as a fullback.
Yeah.
But offensively, I remember watching a couple of games, and there was just this if I imagine the heat map and direction of the balls, he was just literally going nuts. I don't know if there was a sort of defensive compensation and moving around, much like Sarri ball, really, how it shuffles. But I just remember he was just the man to watch. And it's not it's now and again you get that with a young English fullback, and then people are like, oh look, he's English, he's running up the wing all those. It was really a focal point as a fullback constantly. So I'm terrified of him.
I think I've not looked at the stats recently. I must be honest, but up to maybe 3 weeks ago, he had more assists. He had more assists in the Premier League than Salah, somebody else, Firmino, Mane. You're talking about some of the best players. Hazard obviously has got a load of assists, but some of the best players in the Premier League, even up to 2-3 weeks ago, he had more assists. He had more assists than any of those, and he only played 8 games, 9, 10 games, something like that, before he got injured. So I agree with you. What he does is he brings so many different options, not for Pep. He brings options for Pep because he can come inside, he can pull a team across on his own when he comes out. And then suddenly that frees up the likes of Sane, or it frees up a Sterling, or it frees up somebody else. But not only that, he's brilliant at getting a ball out wide, dragging, as you said, dragging a team all the way across, and he can ping a 40, 50, 60-yard ball all the way across to Sterling, who's completely free, unmarked, because centre back and the left back are dragged right the way across the pitch. So, I mean, we can't wait to get him back because it is just so many more options, and his actual crossing and everything is so brilliant. But it's like anything; it's his injury record, you know. And I know it's not just little niggles. He went in for that operation and chose to do that and said, right, enough's enough. I'm going to go and have this operation, get it out of the way, get it done, and I'll take the hit. So fingers crossed. After this is going to be...
After this game, yeah. Fingers crossed after this game it comes...
I'm sure you're hoping after this game.
I was going to say...
So, yeah, he's been brilliant. He's been brilliant. Some weird City fans, I must admit, sort of slag him off and say he's a sick note and he's this, that and the other. But they've got to remember that he got an unfortunate injury and then chose to have this surgery and go, I could have played, but, you know...
Want to be better for the long term.
Yeah, I'm only 23. Let me get the surgery, come back stronger. And that's that.
I was going to say, should we talk about the league a little bit more? Just to throw a stat out of you there, I was just looking about him having more assists than Salah. Do you know Salah's missed more big chances in a year and a half than Hazard has in 7 years?
What's
Sorry,
but what the Liverpool fans will say is, well, that shows you that Liverpool have created so many more chances than Chelsea.
I'll tell you what, I generally like, you know me, I like to be a bit of a football purist, and Salah is an excellent player, but sometimes, like, I see the Hazard versus Salah debate, and, you know, how about Hazard's inconsistent, Salah scores goals. Salah is the perfect instrument to Klopp's team in terms of finishing off chances, but obviously, as a Chelsea fan, I'm going to be a Hazard fanboy. If you look at Hazard's consistency and goal output in all competitions in 7 years, including the Jose fallout season, it's like so good. And, you know, obviously key passes and dribbling and take-ons. But also, right, another one I saw, I promise this tangent will only last for like 20 more seconds. But in the last 10 years, I don't know if I've tweeted this, you might have seen it, but in the last 10 years, in all top 5 European leagues, in the last decade, the top 3 of man of the matches is Lionel Messi, Ronaldo, and then it's Hazard. And then Neymar's like 5th or 6th or something. It's actually Ibrahimovic who's 4th, and that's only because he was tearing up a Farmers League at PSG, getting man of the matches, and Hazard's been doing it in the Premier League. So if you talk about lighting up a pitch as a player, you know, it's just people when they slap themselves.
If the rumours are that, seeing as though you're talking about Hazard, and we're going to go on to the fact of you think Hazard's going to leave in the summer.
Yeah.
For me, if you gave me the choice, if you said Hazard is 100 million quid or whatever, if it was City, I'd say whack 100 million quid and get him. He wouldn't come to City, and Chelsea I don't think would ever sell him to City. But if you gave me the choice of the two players, I'd have Hazard every single day of the week because he plays in a position that David Silva is occupying. David Silva's coming towards the end of his career, sadly, and I'm going to cry the day that he announces his retirement because he's my favourite all-time City player.
Doesn't look tired though, does he?
No, he doesn't. To the last few games, the last 3-4 games he's played, he's not been brilliant. He wasn't great again last night, but maybe he needs a bit of a rest prior to the Champions League. But he plays in that sort of playmaking role, you know, great at little passes into play. Yeah, and I think Hazard would be absolutely perfect.
Dummies and he does those like assists on his back and like runs and does dummies. And
Yeah. I mean, City fans will say, well, we've got Phil Foden coming through. Of course, would I like Phil Foden to be playing that role? Absolutely, of course I would. And we've got Bernardo Silva and everything. Of course, I'd rather have the players we've got at the moment. But when a player of the calibre of Eden Hazard comes on the market, and if it's for 100 million quid, I mean, you know, we're talking £25 million more than what Liverpool paid for Virgil van Dijk. What?
Yeah, it's nuts.
I'd slam 100 million quid and say, here's another 10 million on top just as a sweetener, just to get him. Because if you got him for 3 years, he's going to guarantee you 15 assists, 20 goals. And you imagine him in our system under Pep.
Oh, we blow up, yeah.
My
yeah.
Lord.
So I mean, yeah. So it's.
So
been,
you think
yeah,
this
question's coming. Yeah, I think he is. I feel
Really?
like he loves Chelsea, and he's always said that because it's, you know, we've given him everything. We've signed like both his brothers. You know, his family's settled. He's been happy. He's always got a smile on his face. And the thing is, he's not from London. He's not from like the King's Road. He's you know, he came to Chelsea because we won the Champions League, and he was like 20 years old. I think Ferguson tried to sign him, but we convinced him to come to Chelsea. And he's been here for 7 years. He's given us like that period of his career, and it's not like he's going like to another Premier League team. It's not. I'd be if he went to PSG, I wouldn't like it because they're like, you know, they've been around for 30 years, the club or whatever. They were formed or 40 years or whatever it was. And, you know, it's a sort of farmers league or whatever. And even Bayern Munich, I feel like it's a bit like meh. And obviously not Barcelona, because Chelsea do have a rivalry with Barcelona from like European ties and stuff. But you think, okay, so if there's one team you want to leave, I would have to be his boyhood club. Okay, like, you know, he loves Zidane. I suppose it'd have to be the best team in the world. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But you know what I mean? So all things considered. And he didn't do a Courtois, like, you know, not turn up to training and forth. He's sort of trying his best to say, look, I might want to go. I've always wanted to play there. He's trying to condition everyone to be like, look, not one day, just not sign a new contract and you know, F off.
On that point, do you not think it would be better for the fans, the club, and Hazard himself, if he really does want to go in the summer, for him to have said in January, this is it. I mean, I am gonna be leaving in the summer, and you know, but I'm gonna do everything I possibly can for the 6 months, and then the pressure is off because all you get is media reports.
Yeah, oh man, absolutely.
You know, and the pressure builds, and it's rumour this and rumour that, and he seems like a really nice guy, and he's trying to do the right thing. And
I couldn't agree more. And I feel like if that was a definite deal, that he would have done that. Because he said, you know, I'll give everything regardless. This club's giving me everything, and you know, he said I'd never want to leave like Courtois did, and that's his mate. He's like openly said that, but you know, people cheer his name. He's like, he's maybe the best. I'm always inclined to say Frank Lampard's the best footballer we've had at Chelsea, and you know, I'm a big fan of Zola. But in terms of like talent, I think Hazard's probably the best.
I mean, I mean, Lampard was superb, no doubt about it. If world class, yeah, I would say Lampard was possibly pushing that world class.
Isn't he like
Hazard is definitely world.
The thing is as well, it might be a bit of romance going into it because obviously he was a leader, Lampard, and you know, he was captain material, and also I think he's like the 4th highest scorer in the league from midfield or something, or something, or like he's certainly our top scorer of 260 goals from like an 8 position. That's like you know, whatever. Anyway, I'm digressing slightly, but what I wanted to say is with Hazard is he says he's made his decision, right? That's what's come out recently. Now I think his decision is with the club. Like, look, I want to go to Real Madrid, and the club's gone, okay, thank you for giving your all. It looks like we can't convince you to stay. I understand if you don't want to sign a new contract because that might prevent the move in terms of value. Let's work something out. But because the deal hasn't had their hands shaken, he has to be careful, I think. So he can say, I can make my decision and that'll be known soon. But I think he needed assurances from Real Madrid that they were going to come in with a bid. Now, I know technically it's tapping up or whatever, but he needed to know that. And then he needed to go to the club and say, Real Madrid make an acceptable bid for me, would you sell me? So it's a very like weird situation.
Yeah,
it's not. Absolutely. Yeah, it's not like the deal was done and then it happened, and you know.
So then you could say logistics behind a move, certainly a move between 2 big clubs, and
and maybe a player coming the other way.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. But would you miss him? How much are you gonna miss him?
Yeah, horridly. But he's my favourite footballer, and that's because I am a nerdy and I'm into take-ons and key passes and all that sort of stuff. I'm a football nerd, and he's he's great at that, and you'd see him sometimes pick up the ball, and like I say, he does these dummies and back heels, and he lays off the ball between his shoulder blades to the runner and bends in the top corner and scores winners against Liverpool and Spurs. So, as a Chelsea fan, that's what you want. And he's a laugh. He's such a character. When you hear him talk, he's always joking and playing around. He just wants to have. He doesn't have a trophy cabinet in his house or a trophy room. Premier League footballers, he gives them to his kids. They're like buried in the garden. To play. Yeah. He doesn't give a crap about it. He says he wants to win the Champions League, but he doesn't care about medals. And he says, he doesn't have a trophy cabinet. So he's a really likable character. And he's just one. It's like if I couldn't begrudge him the move. It's something that you like so much in your club. But all things considered, when you look at everything, you're like, yeah, it's just like if you love her, let her go. Do you know what I mean?
No, that's hard. I mean, that for me would be like David Silva saying, "Oh, if I could only just play for Barcelona for a couple of years," and it just break my heart.
Yeah, I mean, it's sucks, but it's always been the way. But if David Silva came out and did that now, of course it would suck. But he's always maintained that, even from like Lille. He's Zidane's his favourite player, and one day he'd love to play for Real Madrid. It's not new to Chelsea fans. I mean, if anything, like, if I'm being realistic, it's a travesty that man hasn't played in the Champions League for 3 seasons or whatever. Like, and how he's kept his head down and just gone with it and signed, and played and won us finals and stuff, and just kept a smile on his face, knowing that he just came to Chelsea to win the Champions League. We just want. I'm signing for the Champions of Europe. I want to win the Champions League. You stayed with us for 7 years, and 3 of those years you didn't play in the Champions League.
And now you think for the last couple of years at least, he's been in that world-class bracket. I mean, he's been in there as one of the best players in his position in world football, and yet he's still stuck around. When many others would have said, "No, I need because my sponsorships, because of this and that, and it's affecting me massively." So I mean, credit to him. I just hope. I'm just hoping Khaldoon might have a word with Roman and sort of say, look, he don't want to go there. He wants to come to the Champions League, champions and the Premier League champions and the FA Cup, the quadruple champions. He wants.
Oh yeah, dreaming big.
I wish.
Yeah. Okay, should we talk about? Well, I was going to say, if we want to wrap up, should we talk about team objectives? Really?
Yeah. You go ahead.
Should we start on City, because I've never seen a league unite behind one team to win the league. At first, right? I know this channel's probably not about bantering Liverpool or whatever, but at first I was like, when our form dropped off and I was looking at it, I was like, yeah, City were just, because Man City after last season, it looked dangerous. It looked like, I think the league was like, that can't happen again. Do you know what I mean? Because we looked like, you guys look like PSG and we look like Ligue 1 for that season, and that for the Premier League, that's not good. And probably as a City fan, you want to be sitting pretty, but a bit maybe like 7 points clear rather than like 20 points clear.
Yeah. I mean, I could easily say I'd like to win the league by 25 points every season, and no, not really, because we won't get games like and atmospheres like the one against Liverpool recently, and that 3-1 victory. I mean, it was just one of the most intense games I've ever visited. I've ever been to, and I've been to a lot of games in the last 41 years. That game that night was just electrifying. I mean, the atmosphere was just
defending at the end as well. It had everything, didn't it?
Oh, I mean, I thought we'd win. I was confident we would win. But I got to the ground and doing interviews with fans, and the buzz was just like you could feel it. It was so tangible. So yeah, no, I wouldn't like that, and I agree. If we could win the league every year by 5-7 points, or even by 1 point, that would be brilliant every year. But last season I think was an unusual season. I think you're right in your comment that it made everybody stand up. Certainly made the likes of Liverpool invest heavily, huge, and people forget this. City and Chelsea are always the clubs that get only spent this, and look
United spent a lot of money.
Yeah, you look at how much United have spent under Mourinho. 450 million quid, and
really massive net spend as well.
Well, I think Liverpool have spent 420 million, but they say, oh yeah, but we've got 140 million for Coutinho.
Oh yeah.
It's like, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
Investment, isn't it?
It's the investment in the players that you brought. Not you got rid of one player for 200 million quid. You spent.
It's like upgrading a car, isn't it? If the car's better, it's better.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any difference just because of net spend. That makes absolutely no difference whatsoever. That's why the whole Spurs debate on net spend and I don't get that at all, because if you want to,
it's interesting from a business perspective. If you're interested in business, but if you're interested in football,
of course, absolutely. But if you want to buy players that are going to improve your team, you're going to have to spend money. No matter who you are,
especially in this climate as well.
Of course, absolutely.
Just to pick up on the sort of title challenge. Then at the beginning of the season, Liverpool were doing well, and I was thinking, like, at first I was like, oh, I suppose they've never won it. Whatever, it could be like. I mean, I wasn't thinking about how painful it would be if Liverpool win the league. Actually, do you know what? It's actually quite like a Chelsea FC selfish thing, because I was like, City just rolled the league. It might be good for them to have a little bit of like a competitive campaign again. But also, there's only two teams in the league that's retained the Premier League, and that's United and Chelsea. And there's a little bit of prestige about that. And I thought it'd be nice to keep, and I thought, it'd be nice to keep that. It'd be nice to keep that because, City just looks so good now. If that's something that we can, and they smashed all our records, because all the league records were all Chelsea's prior to last season. They were all wiped away. So I was like, oh, that would be a nice little bit of prestige that Chelsea could keep. And then as the season got on and the Liverpool fans and pundits and ex-players came out, I was just, fuck this, Liverpool cannot win the league.
I'm trying to be polite and objective in what I say, because I could say quite a lot of things, but I won't. But yeah, it was one of those. Of course, back-to-back titles, I've always said, is the priority. When people say Champions League or Premier League, and I've said to all the opposition fan channels, people from Huddersfield through to Wolves to whoever, and they said, oh, Champions League this season or Premier League. And I said, always the Premier League. Always, always, always. Especially if it's back-to-back. Then if we get back-to-back, I'm not bothered. We've got the back-to-back
off the bucket list.
Absolutely. Then we can go next season and go all out for the Champions League. And if we finish in the top four, brilliant. But let's go for the Champions League.
It's retaining, a title retention is the hardest thing.
It is so difficult to do.
Look at Conte. He rolled the league. You've
got to remember when United did it. United did it when it was pretty much United and maybe Arsenal. So it is such a unique achievement. So for me it was absolutely back to back. But then Liverpool came along. We spent all this money, but all you got from Liverpool fans at the beginning of the season was but net spend. And everyone was like, there's no trophy for net spend. There's a net spend trophy. That makes it's irrelevant. You've spent this money to catch up to us, and that's absolutely fine. It's going to be a close. And then suddenly they became from you to they became the leaders of the Premier League. And since then, it's been absolutely
agony.
Oh my God.
The issue is with net spend as well, because you can spend money, but you can waste money. Like City's spent loads of money. But have you made a bad signing?
Yeah, we've made 2 or 3 bad signings.
Okay, well,
over the time.
No, sorry, since Pep came in.
Since Pep?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you might say Nolito was a bad signing. Some might say,
maybe Bravo.
Bravo was.
Fine. But how much money were they? They weren't £50 million players.
Oh,
they weren't.
No.
They weren't a 57 million pound Morata. Or 40 million Drinkwater.
No, they weren't.
I can go on, mate. Yeah. so
no, we've not gone down that route.
Yeah, Chelsea.
We have spent 43 million on Mangala in the past, and
but I'm talking more recently.
All teams have spent, bought players for ridiculous money, and it's not worked out for one reason or another. But no, we certainly haven't spent that type of money on players.
No. Well, it just depends on the effects. Like, if you look at Virgil van Dijk is a lot of money, but if you look at what they could have wasted two £35 million players.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's 70 million. He's done so much for them.
Yeah.
Alisson as well. He's a very good keeper, but I'm trying to be like really objective about Alisson because he's a good ball player, but like Kepa has got more clean sheets than him. And
he's not a good ball player. This is I don't see that in him whatsoever. I mean, I watched the Liverpool games because of the first and second place, and the amount of times he kicks it out into the crowd.
And he's had a howler, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah. I mean, proper. I mean, let's face it. Last season, Ederson made a couple of big mistakes, but Ederson's kicking is
accurate,
far superior to Alisson's, and Alisson's got this. Oh, look at his saves, and you look at him and think, well, yeah, he just hits it straight at you.
He's a good keeper, though. He's a good keeper. Like the thing is with Alisson, at Roma, he was so good. Like if you watched him at Roma, he was really good. So he's got it in his locker, but he hasn't been great. And I feel like probably the best ball playing keeper in the league is Ederson, and probably the best straight shot stopper. Well, I was going to say De Gea for short stopping.
But a lot of them shots, he goes straight at it.
Yeah, true. But his positioning, like he's had performances where he just puts a limb out, and he's he's undeniably.
There's no doubting he's a brilliant keeper.
The reason why I might not put. Because a lot of people have been inclined to say De Gea is the best keeper in the league. I think he's the best shot stopper in the league. I feel like you've seen performances when he's had to face with that United defence in front of him, an absolute shambles of a defence, and he's made 11 saves in the game, regardless to if they were at him. He was positioned well, and there was a game against Arsenal last season where he made like 13 saves or whatever. But he's not the best all-rounder because he's not good at commanding a back line. He's not great at claiming. He's not good at distribution. He's not good at punching. He's just this absolute, which is obviously the most important thing. Ultimately, you want a goalkeeper. Yeah, shot stopper. But, I'm a big fan of Kepa. I mean, he's done a few things. He's done a few little moments where he comes to clear the ball. He does a little scissor-like pass, like a volley pass, and he's a very agile. I mean, the fact how he's gone under the radar as the world's most expensive keeper and he's second highest clean sheets to Ederson. I mean, that's good that no one's talking about him for Chelsea fans because that could have gone... that could have been headlines from start to finish if he had a bad game.
He'll have a seat on the plane out with Hazard in the summer.
Oh, fuck. You know what, though? I feel like... this is banter as well, but De Gea had an awful World Cup. He was, statistically the worst keeper in the World Cup or something like that. And he came back and he was pretty stanky at United too. And... Spain carried on playing qualifiers or Nations League or whatever, when England beat him and stuff like that. And he was having poor games. And then Kepa's always been number 2. And he came in for a friendly and made loads of saves and kept a clean sheet. And you know what? There was a poll of Spanish fans that obviously he plays in England, so they watch him a lot. But a lot of them, what's the keeper before De Gea that played in goal for Spain? Quite old. I've forgotten his name. Anyway, they've asked him to come back, and they did a poll. Even Kepa was above De Gea. They wanted him to start for Spain in front of him. So I know he's a few years younger. I feel like he might be Spain's number 1 in a few years. Calling it here.
Ooh, big shout. So
don't at me, United fans. Should we? I mean, we've talked about. I was going to say just to finish on City's season. How do you feel about it? How do you think you're going to do it? I think City are probably going to.
Said it all along. I've never changed my mind. I said it when we were 7 points
for that game.
I said we'll win the league. I was confident, even though we went through a bad patch at Christmas and we lost against Palace and Leicester. I was still confident, and I was confident because 1, we've got Pep Guardiola. And 2, we've got players in the team that have been there and done it, and
that's so important.
That's massive. Important. It is I know Liverpool have got Milner in their team and that, but it's massive in the Premier League. When certainly it wasn't so much then. And I even said on a video, I think once back in December, I said even if it gets to 10 points, I'll still be confident we'll win the league. And then obviously, gradually, it's gone down and down and down and down. Well, as it stands at the moment, we've played one more game, but we're top of the Premier League. They've got Bournemouth at the weekend. We've got you guys, and I just thought over the time when it hit, forget the January, when February, March comes, when those Champions League games come thick and fast, and you've got other cup competitions. Granted, Liverpool have not got those now. We have. I'm also a big believer in we've got a big squad, and we've got a really, really strong in-depth squad. But I'm also a believer in the fact of momentum. And, I don't think it does players' confidence any good just putting a weakened team out and getting knocked out of a cup competition. I think if you're playing like we're going to go now to Newport County.
Pep's going to love that pitch.
Oh, yeah. but a strong team will be put out. It won't be a load of kids. It'll be a strong team because Pep wants to breed this winning mentality and this momentum building. And we've got lots of players that we need to satisfy game time. We've got Mars at the moment today. Rumours are coming out that he's dissatisfied with the fact that he's not played that many games lately and he's not approached Pep, but he's made it known to some of his staff and things that he's not too happy about it. Well, good. Maybe when you get the opportunity, pull your finger out your ass and do something about it for 60 million quid. Do something, affect the game. Like Sané last night. Wouldn't surprise me if he's dropped for Sunday because he was garbage last night. And so I think building that winning mentality, I don't care whether we're in 4 competitions, Liverpool are in 2. Go all out. And I still think we'll win the league.
I think City will as well, and I feel like you said, players that have been there and done that. As a Chelsea fan, I've had Chelsea players, win the league. Like John Terry won the league, captained 5. Technically, it was Cahill, but he's captained 5 league-winning campaigns. It's so important to have that. But Pep as well. Talk about a coach that knows how to win a league as well.
Yeah,
certainly used to it. Guardiola.
Well, if you go through our team, I mean, all right, we won it last season, but you've got Walker, Edison and Walker have won a league. You've got Delph there as backup. You've got Vincent Kompany's got 3 Premier League titles and 5, 6 cups. You've got Otamendi winning numerous titles. You've got John Stones winning a title. You've got Fernandinho winning 2 titles and 4 trophies. You've got David Silva winning 3 Premier League. It goes on and goes on and the key thing for me is that last season, yes, we ran away with the league, but the 2 of the previous titles, we came back from positions where we were 6 points behind with 3 games to go. We came back on the day of the season, the famous sort of Aguero goal, when on goal difference. We've come back against teams that were well ahead of us with only a few games to go. We're talking about 13, 14 games to go in the season, and we've already overturned their 7-point lead, per se, as it is today. So I think all that makes a massive difference, and the pressure now is on Liverpool because Liverpool now have to keep winning because the pressure,
Andy Robertson, we're not nervous.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they might beat Bournemouth on Saturday, and fair play, you think they will do. So they'll go 3 points ahead. But we could beat you on Sunday and put the pressure all back on them again. We go back top again. So and with the way that the fixtures have turned now, their biggest game is going to be United. That is their rearranged fixture. Yeah. So their rearranged fixture that we had against Everton last night, when it all comes down to it, that actual catch-up game that they've got is going to be the United game at Old Trafford.
Well, there you go. But if you're happy to round up on just I think Chelsea will finish. Also, can I just pick on one thing you said? One thing like you said, the famous Aguero goal. The most, it is the most iconic moment in Premier League history, granted. But it never gets mentioned how important that Dzeko goal is.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel so sorry for the geezer.
It never gets lost on City fans.
Sure, all right, fair enough. But I've watched that loads of times. I've watched loads of like Premier League moments back. You know, obviously like big Chelsea moments as well, like Champions League stuff. I always every now and again I go on YouTube and you watch like the suggested videos, and that City one always comes up every now and again. And I watch it again because it is just, it's such a great moment. But that goal from Dzeko, for him to like lift him up and score that goal, and it's just so. I think it gets over. Fair enough, not by City fans, but by football fans in general. Like I feel like it gets overlooked. But yeah, I mean, I guess we were going to talk about where I think Chelsea would finish as well, and that sort of reminded me because you spoke about United. And my answer would be, I feel like we're going to get fourth, and I feel like just about because of Higuain, we've actually got a very difficult run in, but I feel like because of the Higuain signing, that might change the whole dynamic. There's not too much I can really say about it other than that, but I'm not concerned about Arsenal in the long term. I felt like when these injuries were happening to Spurs, rather than looking down at like Arsenal and United, that Spurs might drop because of all these things, but they've been pulling out late winners and stuff.
Yeah, they have.
They've been digging in. So
actually, I hate to say it, but they have.
Yeah. So it looks like 3 teams for 1 slot. I'm really only worried about United, and that's not because.
Well, and just looking at it, they're 2 points behind you.
We've still got to go there as well.
And you've got a far better goal difference. So you've got an 8+8 on them, on United. Yeah. So you've got to go there, but they're only 2 points. Arsenal are only 3 points behind.
But Arsenal, though, I just
I can't see it. I honestly think United are the ones you're going to have to be really careful of.
Yeah, mate. But the thing is,
we've got to be careful, obviously, of Spurs. Well, all right, now they're 5 points behind, but
Spurs inherently can't win things. This is
I'm not ruling them out. I still think City will win the league, but I think between you and you've got to be really careful of United.
Oh, mate.
I think Sunday's a massive game because you lose that and United win. They go into fourth, and
Arsenal have got like Huddersfield as well, so we'll go to 6th basically.
But even if they win, your goal difference, unless they beat Huddersfield by 8 goals to 0.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I didn't take that.
Then they'll be on level points. So looking at it, it's unless you win. Although you could draw, but I mean it's going to be a big game.
A big game. My thing with just while we're talking about United, I think Solskjaer's a really nice boy. Now, I think that's a reason why he shouldn't be Man United manager, because he's like a nice chap. You hear him talking, he's just like really nice and pleasant, and that's he's obviously just the tonic for like a post Jose Mourinho meltdown. But Solskjaer, to me, like, I know he didn't have credentials anywhere in terms of successful. I don't know Mulder if there's what he did with them or how competitive they are. I know he got Cardiff relegated, but can you really judge him on that? But in terms of pedigree, it's not there. It looks to me like he's doing a Roberto Di Matteo, going back to type essentially in terms of like when we tried the AVB thing, it didn't work. He came in, he went to JT, and everyone like, look, just do what you boys do best. The Chelsea, it's been successful. Dig in, be like Warriors, and won the Champions League and FA Cup and all that. But it didn't work as a coach because he wasn't a good coach. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think Solskjaer's an amazing coach. I think he's just come in and he's lifted the players and he's like run forward. I think he's a great finishing coach, and he's done great with Rashford. And he's treated him really well mentally. He's like, look, you're a better player than me. I'm a better finisher than you. Listen to this. But in terms of when it comes to a Premier League campaign, start to finish, transfers and stuff, I feel like they'd have to maybe get like a Poch or someone a bit more Zidane or something. I think he's the answer.
I think it's a good point with regards to when Jose Mourinho left United. The fact that I don't think it would have made any difference if
coached him.
Sam Allardyce walked in today. It would have lifted the spirits because I don't think it was. I think it was on the floor. I don't think it's so. I think
it was a really smart move getting him in, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think the key thing they've done is bring in Mike Phelan.
More than a feeling. Yeah, he's really important.
I think he's it's a clever move, and obviously you've seen Sir Alex Ferguson's been in there and that's given. When somebody of his caliber walks into the club, where Mourinho wouldn't have had him anywhere near the club, a training ground anyway, and he walks into the training ground with Phelan, with Solskjaer, the players are going to do nothing but stand up, listen, look, and go, we better make sure that we pull this out because the big boss is now back. And so I think there's a mixture of everything. Now, whether he's going to be long-term manager, I'm not sure. I don't really care. But I think it's going to be interesting, Pochettino. I think it's all going to come down to whether Madrid go in for him all out, or whether United go in for him, or United won't do anything till the end of the season. Why rock the boat? They're on a good run at the moment. They're unbeaten. Why change it by saying, "Oh, we're giving him the manager's job for the next 3 years"? Players' performance can drop by 20%, thinking, "Oh, we can relax now," and they don't know what's going to happen in the summer. So, but anyway, that's United. Let's get rid of United.
Yeah.
Let's go to final thing because we've gone on score prediction rather than team prediction, because, like I said to you, I have no idea who Pep. I mean, I couldn't even predict you the back four, and we know that Pep rotates the forward line. So I would be absolutely guessing.
Keeper's good. You know the keeper.
All right, yeah, maybe keeper and Laporte will definitely play.
You might put that kid. Like, who's that kid at City? That keeper. He's just looks amazing.
Muric,
yeah. We've got a guy called Volker who looks similar.
Yeah, he's huge. He's absolutely massive. So yeah, I'm not going to go through a team prediction because I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, it's funny because Chelsea is the opposite; it will pick itself.
Yeah, you'll probably pick the same team as you did last time. So
yeah.
Let's go finally then. Score prediction.
Right. Well, I feel like
head and heart.
Okay. Well. Okay. So heart 2-1 Chelsea. Because we've got Higuain and you played in the week, and Chelsea seem to get their act together. Well, I'm almost talking with my head here, but this is my heart talking because I'm about to bring it home with reality. Because of the elements of fatigue and City and uplift of the new striker and the fact how we beat you in the reverse fixture. But I feel like it's away at the Etihad. You guys have found the form again. I feel like Sarri is going to try and hit you on the break a bit more like he did before. So I'm going to say I feel like we won't do anything too silly. So I feel like we can actually get a 1-1. And as long as I mean, if losing 2-1 at the Etihad, I will have absolutely no... It's just it's the manner of the loss, obviously, because we're supposed to be lifting ourselves. So I'm going to say 1-1 in my head. But if I see, I'd walk away very happy, especially if it's a Kante assist to Higuain goal, because Kante's putting a lot of offensive outpower recently, and that's really good for Chelsea fans. So I feel like it's going to be, because in other circumstances, I feel like it would be quite a clear City win because of all the elements, but because of these tangible facts, I feel like a score draw is what I would say. How about you, mate?
I am useless at score predictions. I always am. Every time I say every sort of fan channel thing we do with opposition fans. I said last night it'd be 2-1. We won 2-0. I'm gonna go the same scoreline. I'm gonna go City to win just 2-1. I think it's gonna be a really difficult game. I think we'll see more squad rotation again, and it's one of those that who's gonna play, and Pep doesn't get it always right. Sometimes he does overthink things, and sometimes he'll make a change and everyone's going, huh? What's that all about? And then you see it and think, why has he done that? And it's not worked. And sometimes he can wait till 70 minutes to make a change, and when really it should be made at half time or 5 minutes. But then again, last night, Leroy Sané, 59 minutes, immediately yanked off. Sterling came on. Dynamics of the game changed again. So I think it's going to be a tight one because I'm not sure who he's going to play, but I'm going to go just a sneaky win for us, just because I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be an entertaining game, and I think it's, like you said, I think Chelsea might play on the counter-attack, so I think it's going to be really important what Pep does with his defenders, and also where does Fernandinho play? Does Fernandinho drop into the Arsenal role at the weekend where he played centre-back, but then without the ball, moved to the midfield?
Oh, okay, so it shifted, yeah.
So he played with Fernandinho as a centre-back, and when we didn't have the ball, and when we did have the ball,
a sweeper.
Suddenly he came in behind Gundogan and attacked the midfield. So that might be an option to try and sort of close down Jorginho.
Interesting, isn't it?
So yeah, so he could revert to something like that because it worked brilliant. I mean, we absolutely dominated Arsenal for most of the game. They had like a 12, 14-minute period where they looked all right, but I don't think they had a shot on target in the second half or on goal. So he might pull up something like that. But I think it's going to be a really tight one. I think now you've got Higuain in the team, always gives everybody else a boost as well. Yeah, and it just gives you that little bit of, more options. So yeah, 2-1 for me.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it because it is like more than other sort of big fixtures like we've just been discussing. We don't know what the hell's going to happen, and that's what makes it great. That's what makes it a great fixture. So, I'd say best of luck, but I wouldn't mean it, Andy. So.
I wouldn't listen to you anyway. I hope we batter you 6-0 if I'm honest. That's my heart.
There you go. I was waiting for the heart.
My head said 2-1. My heart's saying 6-0.
Yeah, it's saying 2-1 heart.
Are you getting up?
No, unfortunately not. No.
Okay.
No, I'm going to the final.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe we can meet up and maybe we'll do something before the final. Yeah. And then we're staying at the Hilton, so we're just literally on Billy Way.
My brother-in-law's taking me, so I'll have to message you first. But if even if I can't see you before, I'll meet you after. We can hopefully.
Yeah. You can always come down to the hotel because it's private, only hotel guests. So if you want to come down and have a beer with us, then that'd be great. Yeah, but anyway, guys, this is Andy from Man City Fan TV, and we're with Jan as always, and just brilliant again. I love chatting to you because we chat about so many other different things that we normally do with opposition fan channels.
Great fun, man.
A lot of in-depth sort of analysis and tactics and things like that. So it's brilliant. So Jan, if you can just tell all the subscribers and watchers where they can find you.
Hey guys. Well, yeah, thank you for having me again on Andy. I am Yannick from Yannick On Chelsea. It's a podcast. I appreciate probably the majority of you are City fans, but I often talk about other stuff in football. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I've got no axe to grind with City, and I'm generally a statistics football guy. So if you want to follow me at Chelsea Yannick, and yeah, thanks again, man.
You're welcome. And like I said, I listened to a podcast he did the other day, and it was really interesting. I'm not a Chelsea fan, but I listened to it and there was a lot of really interesting stuff in there. So certainly for the younger generation who like a lot of stats and facts and
football things. Football hipsters.
Yeah, the football hipsters. Definitely go and check out Jan's podcast because they're really interesting. So anyway, it's Andy from Man City Fan TV. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, click notification, comment below the video. And also don't forget, go and follow Jan over on Twitter and his podcast. Anyway, good luck for Sunday, mate.
Right.
See you soon.